Hey everybody, Crystal Beaudry here with Crystal's Clean Kitchen, where we help make clean eating a lifestyle. I have a great recipe for you today. Today we are going to be making some paleo approved blueberry waffles. Now these are Belgian waffles. They're massive, they're fluffy, and they taste so amazing. You will not even recognize that they have no grains, no sugar, and no dairy. They're so good. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button. Here's all the ingredients that you are going to need. We are going to be starting with 3 eggs, a half a cup of some almond milk. Now I recently just started buying this brand because it only has 3 ingredients in it. We're also going to do 1/3 cup of some coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of whatever sweetener that you're wanting. I'm using maple syrup. You could also use honey though. 1 teaspoon of some vanilla, 1.5 cups of almond flour, 1/3 cup of tapioca flour, 1/2 teaspoon of some baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of some baking powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of some salt. Then we're going to be adding in some fresh blueberries, 3/4 cup of fresh blueberries. Okay, we are going to be starting by separating our egg whites from our egg yolks. But you want to save the egg yolks, just set them to the side. Now I always do this when I am making waffles. I'm going to beat the egg whites and then add them in at the end, just because it's going to allow these waffles to be a lot fluffier than they normally would, especially with using different types of flours instead of just white flour. You want it to have as much volume as possible. You want to beat this until stiff peaks have formed. This is how you want it to look. It's really nice and fluffy and kind of stiff. Now let's mix together our flours. I have 1.5 cups of some almond flour. Then I'm going to be adding in my 1/3 cup of some tapioca flour. I love personally mixing those two together. You just get such a good texture with that. Now, if you haven't checked out my video that I just made about how to make your own grain-free baking powder, make sure to go do that because I'll be using it in this recipe. It always turns out amazing. I know sometimes it can be a little nerve-wracking to make your own baking powder. Will it rise? Will it won't rise? Well, this will prove it. As you watch, you'll be able to see that it still does a great job with whatever you're cooking. Okay, I did 1/2 teaspoon of some baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of some baking powder. So before we mix everything together, I'm going to take some time and I'm going to take my blueberries and soak them in some water. Now, I do buy organic blueberries, but they have said that you can still have pesticides on organic fruit as well. And to make sure that I'm getting off all of the pesticides, you could either soak your blueberries in some baking soda, or you could also do it in vinegar. But you want to get off as much of the pesticides as you can. I'm going to leave this sit for about 10 minutes and then I will use it in the recipe. All right, so I'm going to be adding in all of the wet ingredients. I am going to start with the egg yolks. Then I'm going to add in my 1/2 cup of some almond milk, about 1 teaspoon of some vanilla, and 1/3 cup of melted coconut oil. Mix this together. Now add your flour. I always like to add the flour really slow. Of course, you're wanting to scrape down the sides, make sure all the bottom is good. As you can see, this consistency looks pretty good, even without the egg whites. It's a little thick though. So now we're gonna add in the egg whites and we're gonna just go really slow as we add them in, not beating it for too long. I'm gonna mix it a little bit with the beaters and then I'm gonna do the rest just with a spatula, just to kind of incorporate it in there, keeping it as fluffy as I can. Now I'm gonna go rinse off my blueberries, make sure that all of the baking soda has rinsed off of it, and then I will be slowly folding those into this batter. So as you can see, this batter is really light and fluffy. Those egg whites really made this a whole lot fluffier. Now you can just let it sit while you heat up your waffle iron. I'm gonna be taking some coconut oil and just kind of spreading it on there. Now you don't want to fill it too full, so otherwise it will leap overboard. All right, here we go. Oh, beautiful. Now I actually double this recipe because otherwise my kids don't really get a whole lot of them, and they like to have leftovers of waffles when I make them. All right, here you go. Now, of course, you could add any sort of toppings that you're wanting to this. You could do some coconut whipping cream. You could do some nut butters. I'm doing blueberries and maple syrup. Let's give it a taste test. All right, I need a blueberry there. Yum. You know, these are actually my kids' favorite breakfast right now. They ask for these all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and of course, stay tuned for some more great recipes. We'll see you next time.